The new Maxx Model Products ME Pro is the most impressive hop-up chamber that I've ever used in an AEG. I've been reviewing it for the past month, and I gotta tell you, this chamber is fantastic.
Yep, tango down.
Before we begin the review, full disclosure, Maxx Model Products actually sent me both of these chambers to review for you guys. I actually first received their old TYPO chamber ages ago, but I had some feeding and compatibility issues with it. So I let them know, and then after a while, their rep, who was super nice by the way, offered to send me their new ME Pro to test out for you guys, which is what we're reviewing today. This is not a paid video review, nor am I sponsored by Maxx Model Products. I'm simply reviewing their products based on my own experience. Now, we should start with the features, is because the features is what sets the ME Pro apart from every other hop-up chamber in the market. First off, the whole chamber along with most of its components are made of CNC 6061 aluminum. Even the small components, like the Delrin C-clip to lock your inner barrel in place, the small brass pin for your hop-up arms, and even the brass spacer to stabilize your inner barrel are all CNC machined, so the fit and finish is top-notch as expected. As for the ME Pro's main features, we have this CNC aluminum latch to retain BBs in the feed tube during your reloads, so you won't waste any BBs, which is great for tactical reloads or milsim games where ammo is limited. We also have these clear covers on the sides of the chamber, so you can literally watch your rifle pass the feed tube test, and you can also watch it load BBs into your bucking, which is incredibly useful for diagnosing feeding issues with your DSG or HBA build. But the cool thing here is that you can actually take these covers off and use Maxx Model's LED tracer system that's sold separately for about $15 US. So instead of running a tracer unit on your outer barrel that can stick out a bit, you can now have an integrated tracer system on your chamber. So you can potentially build a super compact tracer setup, or if you don't want to mess with the looks of a certain build on your rifle, then this LED setup might be worth looking into, since it's actually not super expensive. As an interesting side note, Maxx Model Products will apparently be making a empty magazine detection sensor for the top over here, which is the reason why there's a cutout right above the feed tube. Unfortunately, I don't have the LED or the empty mag sensor to test for you guys, but if you guys want to see a tracer comparison video, or if you would like to see how that empty mag sensor works with AEG or HBA builds, let Maxx Model Products know in the comment section below, and I'll try to set it up for you guys. Moving to the back, we have this CNC rotary dial that's numbered and notched with an O-ring underneath it so that you can fine-tune and secure your hop-up adjustment, even with gloves, and this dial pairs very nicely with the two CNC aluminum hop-up arms, which is basically the main star of the show. So this hop-up arm over here is for regular AEG tensioners, like the Prometheus Bridge, the Firefly Namazu, or the Maple Leaf Omega, which I have right over here. It works just like your stock hop-up arm, except that this hop-up arm applies a little bit more tension when you have it inside the Maxx Model chamber. The fitment is also very nice, like I've been saying like the whole entire video. It also has a small spring for it. Make sure you don't lose this. The spring fits right into this slot over here. If you intend to only use this hop-up arm, I recommend you to just super glue the spring over here, because it's very easy to lose this because it's so small. You can tell how small it is relative to the hop-up arm. But anyways, as I was saying, so this hop-up arm is pretty nice. And as a side note, in case if you do not have your tensioner, or if you lost yours, Maxx Model does give you a hard cylindrical tensioner with a hole in the middle. And this is for bump-style AEG nubs that most stock AEGs still use. So if you don't have the time to pick up a new hop-up rubber or a tensioner yet, you can just use this for a while. It's because, for example, if you buy a G&G, they will use these regular cylindrical tensioners, and this is harder than the stock one. So if I were to swap over my G&G ARP9's inner barrel and bucking, I can just use this tensioner, and it will apply a little bit more hop than usual. But I think most of you guys will be buying this chamber specifically for the second hop-up arm. That's specifically made for the two CNC aluminum R-hop tensioners, which is quite unique. I think Maxx Motor Products is the only company that actually makes a chamber geared towards R-hop. So normally, after you make your R-hop patch and modify your bucking, you also need a strong tensioner to apply hop-up to that R-hop patch that you made. And it also needs to be quite precise if you want it to work well. In this case, Maxx modeled CNC the tensioner, and it's also made of aluminum, so it's very precise and it can apply loads of tension. But on top of that, Maxx model has two slits on the sides of the chamber that you can see right over here and right over here, and this is so that it can guide the CNC R-hop tensioner right down towards your R-hop setup. You can see how that works, and that's what it looks like on the inside. Very, very cool. And also, it uses a small orange silicone damper on the top over here, I think that's what they call it, to transfer the pressure coming from your hop-up arm to your R-hop tensioner. So there's no chance for the tensioner to lopside or apply inconsistent tension, making this more or less the perfect R-hop setup that you can get. I don't think there is any other solution in the market that's quite like this. This is actually a fantastic idea. And just to clarify for you guys, the reason why Maxx model gives you two CNC R-hop tensioners is because the short tensioner that measures 4.5 millimeters in length is for short R-hop patches, which is what most of us will be using. And this long R-hop tensioner over here, this measures 6 millimeters long. It's for longer R-hop patches that's commonly used in high-power DMR builds. That involves taking your inner barrel, and what people normally do is that they will mill out the top of the front of the hop-up window. They will actually make the window wider so they can use a crazy long R-hop patch to apply a lot more hop. Usually for heavyweight BBs, like something that's pretty close to a 0.5 gram BB. So I've been using the MB Pro on and off for about a month and a half now on my Avalon Sabre CQB with a 400 FPS 40 rounds per second DSG. I also did some tests in my VFC HK416 with the Polarstar F2. I also tested the MB Pro using a variety of buckings and inner barrels. This is not a wide selection of it, but it's not bad. So far, no compatibility issues, although there's a few minor things that's worth noting about my test. First of all, I did modify the feed lips on any bucking where the feed lips are a bit too long, such as this one. This one is the Maple Leaf 70 degree. The second thing that's also worth noting is that any buckings that have an extra long nub that's not compatible with certain inner barrels that have a shorter hop-up window, I did not use those buckings in that because you're not meant to use those buckings in hop-up windows that are too small. And the last thing worth noting is that besides the feed tube test, I also did a push test with the bucking by itself and also with the inner barrel on the with the bucking and also with the inner barrel and bucking installed into the MB Pro. And so far, as far as I can tell, the MB Pro passed every single test, which basically means that the MB Pro is not changing how your bucking behaves. So in my video review, there doesn't seem to be any compatibility issues with the chamber. As for the performance tests, I tested this using an R-hop setup with the CNC tensioners, and I also used a regular Maple Leaf 70 degree setup with a Maple Leaf Omega tensioner. Both setups could easily hop 0.3 to 0.4 gram BBs very consistently, and the 3 compression springs on the chamber really helped to keep the chamber pressed up against my gearbox for that air seal. Please note that though, not all AEGs can use the compression spring that goes over your inner barrel. Not all of them are compatible. For example, my VFC HK416, it does not accept this, but on my VFC Avalon, it's perfectly fine with this. So in summary, I noticed 3 things about the MB Pro. First off, as far as I can tell, the MB Pro along with the OT Pro chamber, they both seem to be able to apply a lot more hop-up than usual, which was really noticeable is because I used to use this stock VFC rotary style hop-up chamber, and I needed to almost max out the dial to hop 0.3 gram BBs. I couldn't do 0.4s back then. But now with the ME Pro, I hardly ever needed to turn my dial beyond the 6 setting over here. The dial goes all the way up to 10, by the way. So theoretically, you can hop even heavier BBs than what I used, although it might not be practical up to a certain point. The second thing I noticed is that I got a slight FPS boost in my DSG, which brought the power from 1.5, and now I'm consistently shooting slightly above 1.6 joules. If your rifle is already very close to the field limit, make sure you double check your power before bringing it to a game. I actually had to downgrade my DSG on game day is because it was shooting just slightly above the field limits. And the final thing I noticed about the ME Pro is the changes between the new and the old TYPO chamber. The new ME Pro chamber compared to the old TYPO. So they're both very similar in terms of features, except there's a few key differences. A is the window on the ME Pro is much larger. I hope Maxx model actually keeps it that way. It's a very useful feature that came in handy on multiple occasions. Like when I was building my 6-tooth DSG, when I was checking for feeding issues on my 8-tooth DSG, checking feeding issues on my Polar Star, this was extremely helpful. It's so much easier to spot for issues. There's also another neat thing that they changed, which is the latch. They're now using screws instead of the small press-fitted pin that is on the old TE Pro chamber. Supposedly, the screws is a little bit stronger, but in my opinion, the main benefit is that you can easily take it apart and swap it out if you need to. And the other thing that's different is the cutout on the top. So in the TE Pro chamber, there's no cutout on the top, whereas there's a cutout for the empty magazine detection sensor, which I don't have for the ME Pro chamber. But the biggest difference by far is that the C-clip on the ME Pro has been moved forwards by 0.2 millimeters to accommodate a wider variety of aftermarket inner barrels. The beveling inside the chamber for the feed lip area has also been widened for better feeding and compatibility. That's the reason why I did not experience any compatibility issues with the new ME Pro chamber, is because they actually tidied up and fixed some of their internal dimensions over here. Which leads us to the conclusion of this review. Be quite honest with you guys, I never really thought about upgrading my chamber for my AEGs, is because I think most of you guys can tell from my DSG build videos, I don't really upgrade is because upgrading to a Pro-Win or Prometheus help-up chamber seemed a little redundant. A Prometheus chamber also costs like $40 to $50 US, by the way, so you can easily see why I have never really been just a big fan of upgrading my chamber, because the benefits seems very marginal at best. That's the reason why I kept my stock VFC plastic chamber for my Avalon DSG, and I also used the stock chamber in my Amoeba DSG. But now with the new ME Pro chamber, because it actually gives you a performance boost, and it brings a lot of features to the table, and all the features actually work, I can easily recommend the ME Pro to you guys as an upgrade from your stock chamber, as long as you are okay with the $60 US price tag, which is honestly not that bad. And it's surprisingly, it's actually $75 US if you buy the ME Pro with the tracer system, which is sort of cheaper than a tracer unit. So if you know you are going to fork out the extra cash for a tracer unit, you might as well get this and build your own custom AEG with this thing. So that's it for the review. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Let me know what you guys think. Please feel free to comment, like, and subscribe. I also have a Facebook page that you can check out. The link will be in the description box below. And if you'd like to support the channel, please also consider checking out my store. The link will also be in the description box below. And as a suggestion to Maxx model products, I don't know if they're watching this, but one day it would be great if you guys could make a next generation hop-up chamber for the Tokyo Marui NGRS. That would be very, very cool. I would love to get one of that chambers one day. It's because manufacturers are not very good at making metal chambers for the TM NGRSs. And maybe one day also consider making a hop-up chamber for the AK. I don't know. Just food for thought. Right. because version 3 gearboxes are still very popular. They're very robust. I'm pretty sure there's a market out there for people who want chambers. Is because surprisingly, when it comes to AK chambers, there's actually really not that many options. At least I'm not willing to try any of the options based on the reviews I've heard. Anyways, guys, that's truly it for the video now. Peace, guys. Happy shooting.